Welcome to She Said Homestead, the podcast that explores homesteading from a range of perspectives. We're Sage and Mickayla, two homesteaders, each with unique experiences, properties, and future goals for our homesteads. We're discussing various homesteading topics, sharing our personal experiences as women working full-time who are managing homesteads as well, and shining a light on the stories of other inspiring homesteaders.
Before we dive in, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoy our podcast, please consider leaving a review. It really helps us grow and share these homesteading stories with even more people.
Hey there guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Mickayla from Calico Cow Acres.
And I'm Sage from Terra Nova Acres, and we both have homesteads in western North Carolina.
It is Christmas Eve when we're recording this, and we figured we'd do kind of a fun, hopefully for you to listen to episode, and hopefully we don't make ourselves too sad reading this, but we're going to be reading some of our hate comments, some of the weird comments we've gotten, and letting you guys in on the other side of content creation. But before we get into some of these juicy comments, what did you get up to this week?
So this week we had the winter solstice, which is the longest night of the year. And I've been more interested in following those, holidays that go along with nature, partially because it's very relevant to my life, right? I'm scheduling pretty much everything I do around the seasons and the day length and the temperature and everything else. But that was really the first time that I had intentionally recognized it and made a plan to kind of celebrate it. And I gave myself what I would call a dopamine day, where I was like, I'm not gonna set any goals for myself. I'm just gonna let me do what I want. So I walked around the woods and I collected some evergreen limbs from around my property, and I ended up making some garland and wreath out of that, although that took more than a day. It took a while and I made a mess of my house. But I also went to my local plant nursery because I will take any excuse to go to my local plant nursery. And they're having a sale. It's about to get cold. So the stock that they have around trees and things that might not be able to make it through the winter, they're incentivized to put them on sale and kind of just get them out of the way so they can recoup some cost on it. And there were some trees that I had seen there throughout the season that I ran into and was like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful, but so completely and totally out of my budget. There's just no way. And when I see things like that, I make a little deal with the universe. I'm like, if this goes on clearance, I will buy it. And I am a little bit obsessed with willow trees. When I walked through their stock, they had a couple really cool willow trees. They had a golden willow, which is yellow, so even when the leaves fall off in the winter, it's just a really beautiful tree bark. And they had a weeping pussy willow, which I love pussy willow. It has fuzzy little buds on it in the winter, and it's an interesting thing to look at in a time where really all there is bare trees, evergreens, and whatever that has just a little bit of decoration on it. And they were both half off. I was like, it's still a lot of money, but it's less of a lot of money. So it would be financially irresponsible for me to walk away from it, basically. And I already had that standing deal with the universe. So how can you turn it down? So I bought them. And I texted you when I was standing there and I was like, what do I do? I found this and I can't unknow that it's here. And I know I'm gonna get it, but I'm still gonna text you and be like, oh, what should I do?
If you ever want to feel validated in purchasing something, I'm the person to text, because I am very much an enabler when it comes to yeah, go get it because you want it. I do that with Taylor all the time. So yeah, if you need reassurance in your decision, I am the person who's gonna give that to you. I will always justify it.
But again, willow is so easy to root, and so really I didn't buy 2 trees. Really, I bought an unlimited supply of trees, and it's just a financial investment. That's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I see it too. I'm gonna get free trees from it now, so it was a really good investment on my part too.
Exactly. But other than the Solstice, I canned some cranberries, which I have never done before. And it also gave me my first opportunity to look through my fall canning book. I bought it recently, but I bought it after the main swing of the season, and so I didn't really have a reason to reference it until now. So that was interesting. It's a new food to preserve for me. I mean, it's not super complicated, not really tricky, but I had just never done it before. And then another fun thing, I took some of the sap that I've collected from my box elder trees, which box elders are maples and they don't have as high of sugar content as a lot of other maple trees do, but you can still tap them for maple syrup. And so I tried my first effort at that. I started with 2 quarts of sap and turned it into like an ounce of maple syrup, but I did it and it's in my fridge and I gathered it from the land, and that's pretty cool.
When we lived in Michigan in our last house, we had a silver maple in the front yard, and I tapped it, and I got like, I don't know, 3 gallons worth, maybe a little bit more. And it was like late in the season and stuff too, but trees tap a lot better up there. But I boiled it down and I got a whole pint of syrup, which is really cool because it's like, I think with sugar maples and like the higher sugar content ones, you get a 1:40 ratio of syrup to sap. And with silver maples and the ones that aren't as like sugary, it's like a 1:60 or 1:80 ratio. And so getting that much was pretty impressive. We haven't successfully done it here yet, but I do intend to do it at some point. I haven't gotten around to it this year yet, but that's exciting. I saw your garland earlier on Instagram and it looked really pretty. I saw the juniper berries in it. We have a tree here that, okay, we have like 1,000,000 cedar trees on our property, but only one of them I've found juniper berries on, which is weird because they're all the same. That's the only one that has berries on it, and it's only like it's like a handful, like not very many at all. So I'm always hesitant to pick them because I'm like, these are pretty and I want them, and I want to make, like, I thought about putting them on my wreath on my front door this year. It's like, I don't want to like steal all of its berries.
I did get a couple branches of evergreen cuttings from the nursery because I have evergreen around here, but then there were a couple things that they had that were cool like that I don't have, like the juniper and I want to say cypress. I don't know, but I just, tucked them in there. I did a little bit of eucalyptus too, just to have some like interesting pieces kind of interwoven in that, but it's probably 95% what I just have around here, and then like 5% of just some extra little fun things. So don't give me full credit. I just give me 95% credit, I guess.
I mean, it looked really pretty. Like, I hope it lasts a long time because I know
like
they kind of get dried out. If you touch them, then they like drop everything. But if you don't touch it, it should be okay for a while.
I know. When I put it up, I was like, ooh, I really like this. I don't know if I will ever take it down. I mean, if it starts falling apart and deteriorating, I probably will, but I love it. I'm definitely leaving it up all winter. This is like, to me, they're not Christmas decorations. To me, they're winter decorations, and so they're very much good until March, at least. Decorating and the broader homemaking. That's a thing that matters. The environment that you spend your time in matters a lot,
especially when you spend as much time at home as we do.
Very true. What about you? What did you do this week?
I cleaned the heck out of my house, like hardcore. Other than my office, everything's just tossed in there because I haven't had time to deal with that yet. You saw that while you were here. It's just a disaster. Everything else is like spotless.
I have a room like that.
It'll get dealt with. Because we were filming a like renovation update for like 2 years being here and working on it. I wanted to do like a grand finale of phase 1 for our renovation stuff because we're like wrapping up with the main projects we're working on right now. And I haven't really posted many videos since hurricane happened because I just haven't filmed a lot and like a million other reasons. The last renovation video I posted ended on the hurricane day, because that was the day my friends were supposed to be here, and then like the hurricane happened and we were like full on rushing to get the house done, and I had footage up till that point for like that whole previous week, and then I just like ended that video with, hey, the hurricane hit us. So I wanted to give like a very thorough update since we haven't posted anything about it since then. So we walked around our entire house. I cleaned everything really nicely. I finished putting up our pictures, and we like Taylor helped me do the tour and everything, and I've been editing that for literally the last 4 days because I've been pulling footage from all of our old videos and trying to get all of that back onto my computer from old hard drives, old iCloud stuff that like I can't transfer it easily. It just like never works. It's been the biggest pain in the butt trying to get that video put together. But I finally finished it. It's going to be uploading after we're done recording tonight. It's like 30 minutes long, and I'm excited to finally have something posted because I haven't posted in like 2 weeks.
I haven't posted in I don't even know how long. Probably longer than a month, so you're doing much better than me.
I usually manage to get a video out every week, and like that's my goal, but it's just I haven't filmed. I filmed tons lately, but it's just footage. It's not like a cohesive video, so I've just kind of like saving it for whenever I can compile it into something, and it hasn't happened. Other than that, I've kind of just been trying to keep warm because it's been really cold here the last handful of days. Like teens. Taylor went up to Michigan for the last 4 days, and he's like on his way home right now. But that means I was here taking care of everything by myself, and we've talked about before, when that happens, it's just like I can't get anything else done other than like the basic tasks because it takes everything out of me. And now managing the wood stove is like an every 30 minutes situation. I have to be like very focused on that, so I haven't gotten anything done. I literally have been sitting on the couch editing, and then every 30 minutes my alarm goes off and I have to go add wood to the wood stove. I did manage to make myself a delicious dinner that I've been eating for 4 nights now, and it's one of the best things I've ever had, though. So that was like my accomplishment other than my video for this weekend.
Okay, I saw you post it on your Instagram. This is so embarrassing. I don't remember what it's called. Was it beef ragu? Was it beef stir?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was beef ragu. I've never had it before.
Beef
I've
ragu.
never made it or eaten it, and it was like one of the best things I've ever eaten. So I'm very happy that I tried it. It felt like a cozy meal, and I was like, I have to leave my stove on for like 4 hours to cook this, and so my house is going to be a little bit warmer because of that. And I really love slow cooked things. Like I love using my crock pot, but I wanted to try it in the Dutch oven on the stove. And it has like red wine in it. Super yummy. Like 10 out of 10. I made homemade pasta for it. And I think I have probably 1 or 2 nights worth of the sauce still, so pretty happy about that. That's all I did this week. I really I've just been holding down the fort.
Hey, sometimes that's a lot. Sometimes
It is.
it takes more than all the energy you have to just hold down the fort.
Seriously, especially with the wood stove, because I'm like really freaked out with fire, and it's just like it makes me so anxious, like having to deal with it by myself. And then also realizing that the smoke alarm that we have down there that we put in is like we stole it from another part of the house, and when you start a fire in that thing, it gets a little bit smoky, so sometimes it goes off. It's like dead now. So that freaked me out, and I don't have a vehicle, so I can't go get one. So I'm just paranoid, but it's gone fine so far. Like I managed to keep the house warm. Nobody froze. I've like remembered to put the birds in on time, and no waterers have been frozen. It's gone smoothly, but I've not done a single other thing.
Well, back to today's topic, which is reading our hate comments. Both of us are content creators who post our life. Yes, we have this podcast that we do together, but we also have our individual social media accounts, YouTube, a little bit of Instagram. And we do honestly get a lot of support. I don't want to downplay that. Having to scroll through the comments to find the rude ones and the hateful ones, I had to scroll past a lot of really wonderful people who were being deeply supportive and who we deeply appreciate. But the truth is, we also do get a lot of really rude and really unnecessary comments. And sometimes when you post your life online, there's a degree of sometimes people feel like you're opening yourself up and you're kind of asking for it. And a lot of people out there also assume that you are being fake, you're just faking it for the attention or for the money or for whatever else.
So yeah, we are putting our lives out there. We're putting a bunch of content out for you guys to help entertain people, to teach people things, to document our lives. But we are real people and we do have feelings, and I intentionally try not to comment on things on social media in general because I never know how something's going to come across to someone else, unless it's genuinely like avid support of whatever that post is about. So I think in general, how you treat others in normal life and also on social media says a lot about you as a person. And I don't want to be a person that gets misconstrued as rude or judgmental. However, this episode might come across that way because we're going to be reacting to these. So I just want to say, like, the way that we are reading these comments and perceiving them may be different than what they were actually intended to be. But I think our response to them and our reaction to them is just as valid.
Yeah, some of them are open to interpretation, for sure. Some of them are also not really open to interpretation, and the intent is pretty clear.
Maybe someday we can do an episode of reading the nicest comments, but one, that's probably not going to get as many views because people like drama. And two, I might cry if we do that because we do really get, at least I do. I'm not sure about you. I get a lot of really sweet, kind, supportive comments. And like Sage said earlier, we really appreciate those. But this is going to be a fun episode to kind of read these because genuinely, they all make me laugh. They're so funny to read back and just be like, what were you thinking?
Yeah. For one, if we tried to make a singular episode about all of our sweetest comments, I think that would be a 5-hour episode. Again, there are a lot of very kind, very supportive people out there, and we love you guys. But I am looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be cathartic, and yeah, we get to laugh at it a little bit.
Vent session therapy hour, and we're just putting it on social media for the world to see.
This first one, they deleted it. It doesn't exist anymore, but this is just going to be from my memory. And this was a comment on my solo homesteader Q&A video, which I stood in my pasture and I held a cup of coffee and just talked to the camera for a little bit. And so this is paraphrase. This isn't direct, but it's as close as I can get from my memory from this being like a year ago. But it was something along the lines of, you are clearly here for the money, and no one believes you actually do this by yourself. Absolutely no one is buying your candid chat while you're holding your staged cup of coffee. She had a huge issue with my coffee that I was holding for some reason. And basically, you're fake and no one's buying it. For one, I sincerely wish that I made enough money on YouTube to be there for the money. I make maybe a couple bucks an hour after I record and transfer and edit and upload everything. And granted, that was a hope at one point, but I did have to let that go in order to be able to continue to have the motivation to do it. And also, I just really like coffee, and it's not that deep, and I just wanted a coffee before I filmed something, and it was nice to hold something warm because it was cold out. So, yeah, I don't know why me and my coffee got so under her skin, but woof.
My first one is going to be from the needless comments on physical appearance category. And this was actually a podcast comment. So this is from the She Said Homestead channel. I'm gonna read this, and it might not make sense, but I'm reading it word for word. So, I'm sorry, because it's hard to understand. I don't that. Mickayla, my name's spelled wrong. Who are you? You what? I do know? When I saw your face, I immediately knew you own several cats. Sad cat lady, with like a million periods afterwards. They're not wrong, I am a
Okay,
cat
is
lady.
that the one? Is that the one that you responded meow to? Because I have that in my like vague memory, and if that's the case, that's so perfect.
I pondered for like the entire day how to respond to that, and I came to the conclusion that meow was the best response.
I will never understand society's obsession with cat ladies and why that's supposed to be this like horrible thing to be left alone and have animals. I don't
Sounds
get
ideal
it.
to me.
My next one is from the category of rudeness for rudeness's sake, however many possessive S's there are there. Again, this one might not be super cohesive, but it's how they wrote it. Okay, you're cute, in parentheses. Nose ring? Get over it. Put the cup down. Again with the coffee cup. I don't understand. Put the cup down, pull the hair back, put on a cap, get your work clothes and gloves on, and get to kicking it. Again, in parentheses. Nose ring? I feel like there's so much to unpack there. For one, some people really get irritated by my nose ring, and the nose ring is there to irritate the people who are irritated by nose rings. It serves as a filter. Anyway, I just like, what? I have one video where I'm standing and talking to the camera, and you're like, you're not doing enough. Just shut up and get to work.
That goes well into my next one. This is one that I have for memory because I deleted this one and I could not find documentation. I feel like I need to explain quickly that I often will screenshot rude comments because something about having them saved for later if I want to go back and refer to them and like just be angry about them or something, I can, or for something like this where we're reading them because it's fun. But then I delete them on the actual like YouTube platform because I don't want other people chiming in and I just don't want negativity on my actual like channel. So if I respond, I usually respond and then I leave it for like 30 minutes and then I'll delete both of them so that I know that they probably saw it, whatever I wanted to say to them, and then I'll like hide them from the channel or something. Anyways, this one was right after we moved here, and I don't know what it said word for word, but I do know that it was on a video where I was giving like a renovation update tour. I was just walking around the house, like showing everything we had done, and it wasn't like actual clips of us working or anything. It was literally a tour, and I titled it that. And this person commented something along the lines of, your husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, he does all of the work, you're making him do too much work, and then you're just sitting here talking and holding the camera. Why don't you actually help him? Stop talking so much. Something along those lines.
Like, tell me you don't watch your videos without telling me you don't watch your videos. Because if they watch any other one of your videos, they see you creating it, like thinking about it, doing it, filming it, and then putting it out. Like, what more could you possibly do?
Normally, someone saying, like, Taylor is doing more work than me wouldn't bother me, but it's like, it's wrong. Like, that was the point. We were still living in the camper. And, like, he does do so much stuff. Like, he does what he has capacity to do. Like, he is at capacity for his workload as well. I have a higher capacity, though. And I don't have any shame in saying that. Like, we were living in the camper, we were demoing the house, Hunter was here, so I was, like, entertaining and trying to cook for both of them. I was just getting into YouTube and, like, learning how to film, working at my old job full-time, starting the garden, like, all of the things. And I'm like, this is just hilarious because you don't know us. Like, it's ridiculous. It's funny, though.
That leads me to a comment for genre of comment from the unsolicited advice category, which, before I get into that actual comment, let's talk about unsolicited advice for a second, because I'm of the opinion that unsolicited advice is always criticism. It's one thing if someone's asking for advice. It's one thing if someone's at work and you're their boss and you're giving them constructive feedback. But if someone is just sharing what they're doing and you show up and you give them unsolicited advice, you are criticizing them. Now that we established that, let's establish that also, like you just said, both of us, we have our unique lives, but we are both working full-time to remain financially stable. We are both managing homesteads. We are both creating content on multiple platforms to put that out there. And I highly encourage anyone who's giving any homesteader unsolicited advice in their comments. I highly encourage you to try to do that, because I think you might have a slightly different perspective when you've tried it. It's one thing to watch someone's video and think, oh, I could have or would have done that differently. It's another thing when you make that your daily life. And until you've tried it, I don't really care what you think I should do. I really don't. I'm kind of saying that brutally and kind of saying that lovingly. So there seems to always be someone who will put in the comments, just buy fill in the blank. That could be just buy a pressure canner, just buy a chicken plucker, just buy a polytunnel. And it might seem easy when you look at it in the isolated circumstance, but both of us are maxing out what we can physically and financially manage. And there's an endless list of things that we would love to just buy or just do. But in order for us to stay sane and be able to do this for a while, we have to prioritize. And so when someone says, just buy polytunnel, it is actually slightly infuriating.
But I can almost guarantee, like, any comment that's saying that, it feels like it's in a way where they think that we haven't thought about purchasing that before. Because I can pretty much guarantee, like, if you tell me that I should just buy a tractor, do you know how many times I'm like, man, a tractor would be handy? Like, I know that they exist. They're just not financially feasible. On that note, I have a whole list of unsolicited advice, and they all revolve around the same thing, so I'm just going to read them off real quick. There's probably like 1,000 or more comments on my channel saying pretty much a version of this exact thing, so here we go. You guys should hire in a goat cleanup crew. You need pigs, not goats. When are you getting goats? Why haven't you got goats yet? Y'all need some goats. But I'm having a hard time because it's just so funny. Buy some goats. They will take care of most of your clearing. This is an old video, but you guys could totally use goats to clear out all that kudzu.
I'm telling you, you need to just make like a GoFundMe page, and every single time that someone comments, you should get goats, just reply with the link. Just say nothing and reply with the link. If you want me to get goats so bad, put your money where your mouth is.
I really should do that. Just a goat fund. A goat fund me. I really love that we came across that at the exact same time.
My animal advice one falls under not necessarily unsolicited advice, although it's that too, but just straight up bad advice. And that is people who tell me to get a milk cow. So I have the sheep for milk, but that's not a typical dairy animal. Cows are just more common for that. But for anyone who's not familiar with my homestead setup, I am just one person. I'm not feeding family. I'm not feeding really anyone other than me. I might share food sometimes, but cows, especially Jerseys, that's like 40 gallons of milk in a week. And for me to process, like, what? I would have to have a dedicated fridge. Like, what on earth is one person gonna do with 40 gallons of milk every week other than start a cheese business, which that is the absolute last thing I need to be doing, right? I don't need to add another thing to my to-do list. I'm barely managing what's on my current to-do list. I don't have the pasture space for a cow. I would have to spend money to pull hay in because they don't graze as thoroughly as the sheep do. If I had a cow, that would kind of just be watered down sheep milk. It's not as good for cheese making. It's just a larger volume to store and manage for the same amount of nutrients as a sheep. Like, there's so many reasons that it does not make sense for me. It doesn't freeze well, which means that there's fewer storage options I have for it. Like, when I sit and think about it, there's not really any reason that I would have a milk cow over sheep. And every time someone tells me that, I want to reply with a rant, and I don't. I just leave it, but I really, really want to.
Even just thinking about trying to find another place in your small house to put an extra fridge. Like, even just stopping right there. Or, transporting a cow.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Okay, another animal one. This is under the straight up bad advice category as well. And it's my pets, my cats. Another cat related one. I know it's your kitchen, your rules. I'm assuming that you want to grow your YouTube channel, so I would like to suggest you don't do things that many people think are gross. I can't get the idea of you and the cat eating turkey together out of my head. This is because I shared one little bite of turkey with one of my cats on Thanksgiving, and I took a video of it, and they were not on the counter or anything. Also, most homesteaders are so into meat that I'm not sure telling them that you normally don't eat meat and your husband still does not eat meat. That might not help grow the channel. I like your personality and hope the best for you. I like that they ended with a compliment.
Yeah, here's me being rude for 9 out of 10 sentences. Doesn't this last sentence make it better? Okay, the way they talk about the cat eating turkey, they make it sound like you baby birded the turkey into the cat's mouth, which I know you didn't. But what? Why is that such an issue to give your cat a piece of turkey?
I am not the kind of person who gets grossed out by feeding my pets a scrap of food. I will literally take a piece of meat off of my plate and give it to my cats. I do not care, first of all. So they can be grossed out about whatever they want. I've probably done it. But I didn't film it and I didn't show that to them. And I also remember this comment happening, and they commented previously, the day I posted the video. This was a week later, and I think they were still thinking about it. That's how much it disturbed them.
Some people need more things to do in their life.
And ignoring the whole cat part of that, the whole turkey part, telling somebody that they should hide part of their journey and who they are and what they believe in, when you're on their channel, it's just ridiculous. I am showing up to YouTube most of the time without makeup on, without doing my hair, just literally as I am. I'm just turning the camera on and showing you what we're doing because I'm trying to document our life. I am not trying to make content that's going to appeal to the most people. Yeah, it would be great if my channel grew from my videos, because more people like them. But if you don't align with me, you don't align with me, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm someone else just so that you do.
Yeah, it's hard enough to spend the time and the energy to record that stuff. It's this way for me. I assume it's this way for you, but I don't speak for you, obviously. If I had to pretend that I was someone else or think about all these things that, oh my god, I have to avoid every single thing that someone could be offended by, and what's the thing that's going to get the absolute most views regardless of is it true or not. That would be exhausting. I would hate it. And I would stop doing it.
Yeah, there was a point, I don't remember exactly when it was, but when our channel started to grow exponentially, it was probably last winter. We had hit 15,000 subscribers, and I started to get really in my head about it, and I just I got to the point where I couldn't post anything because and I still do it. I'm anticipating knowing what people are going to comment, and I've changed my content because of that, and I do not like that. It's not that I'm not being honest or lying to people outright, but I will straight up say clarify in a video a point that I'm trying to make because I know someone's going to comment on it if I don't. And I didn't used to do that, and I wish that I could go back to the land of not knowing that people are rude and just like post whatever, because it does like it's a mental game. Like it does get to me, and you do anticipate what people are going to say. You just know when you're filming, you're like, someone's going to ask me about that. I should probably clarify that.
Up next is one from the rudeness for rudeness sake category, which might actually not be like terrible advice for a normal person, but I'm not a normal person. So she said, "You lack balance in your life. It seems like you might be a bit impulsive and extreme." Hi, you're very new here if you're coming up to that realization. You need to scale down your homesteading pursuits so you can have time for everything. Now, for, again, a normal person, for a neurotypical person, that might actually be great advice. But for me personally, if I don't have something that I can obsessively pour into to the point that maybe it unbalances my life a little bit, if I don't have that, I am much less stable of a person. Like, going a little bit overboard on something like homesteading makes me a lot more mentally stable than I would be otherwise. And don't get me wrong, I spent a lot of my time masking for other people to make them comfortable, and I know how to do it, and I'm just not interested in doing it anymore. And so I don't know what it is. It's the uncanny valley, whatever. But like when people see somebody whose brain is just wired differently from them, and granted in this video I was being really honest about some of the burnout that comes with homesteading. But it's almost like people can't see anything that is not perfectly balanced and perfectly, what's the word? Like tailored for the outside world to perceive. It's like they can't handle that, and I have no interest in pretending to be that carefully crafted thing, because to me and for me, that experience has always been inauthentic.
So my next one is under the rude for rudeness sake category as well. I don't necessarily think this one is trying to be rude, but I think it's kind of similar to the one you just read, in the sense that this person's own mental construct of like how they were raised and like how they perceive the world made them uncomfortable watching my video in a way that I feel like is important to point out. So this one just says, "I watched this to support you, but was a little uncomfortable about knowing your business." This was on my how much YouTube paid me in the first year video, and where I literally broke down every single piece of how YouTube works with payments and how like getting monetized and everything. And then I like a step-by-step breakdown of our views, our followers, our subscribers, how much we made each month, overall, everything. Like I broke it down hardcore. And a lot of people really appreciated that. Like I got so many comments saying like, "I appreciate you. Nobody who's a content creator does this and like shares what they're making." And I was that person, and I still am sometimes, like looking for that content where I'm like, I need to know what I can expect if I want to use YouTube as a potential future career path. Like it's something that I want to keep pursuing and potentially make into like a full-time income if possible. And so I'm just out here trying to help people. Like I do not have any qualms about sharing how much money I make, because I think that it's a taboo subject that shouldn't be taboo. And there's a lot of reasons that it is, because companies don't want you to share how much you make because that works against them. And so I think just like, especially older generations, it's super taboo for people. And I know this person was an older person. I'm sorry if things make you uncomfortable. You don't have to watch just to support me, but like I appreciate that she still watched. The comment was kind of unnecessary though.
I will never understand the people who hit that point, right, where they might get uncomfortable with content and still choose to watch. Like, I don't think there's a single content creator out there who would want you to watch something that makes you uncomfortable, no matter if it's about money or whatever else. I don't know. We don't expect you guys to support us beyond what makes you feel icky. And the extra step to put that out there instead of just saying like, hey, maybe this isn't for me, and click off. But the extra step to put it in the comments. For a video you worked really hard on and are proud about being transparent about very clearly, like, to put that on there, like, really? Why is that necessary?
It's the audacity. That's the word you're looking for.
Audacity is the word I was looking for. Alright, this next one, if it were on literally any other video, I would be like, yeah, you're right. But specifically because this was on the video that I made about the experience in the hurricane, and to give some context, I did not really have any direct property damage. There were some trees down in the pasture, like the skylight on my shed broke, and I gotta deal with that because it's gonna water damage everything. But like, grand scheme of things, I'm healthy, my pets are healthy, the farm animals are healthy, like, very fortunate. But that doesn't mean that nothing happened to me in the storm. Like, the psychological experience of going through that, I tried to leave and couldn't. I realized I was stuck being on a road. I don't live in the best place, and people know that I have food and people know that I have resources, and in a situation like that, there's not a whole lot stopping them from just taking what they want. And also I live alone, and also I live alone as a woman. Like, there's a lot that went into that. That was just because you're physically okay doesn't mean that you're mentally okay. And that was a very mentally challenging experience. And I didn't speak fully to that in the video because I just wasn't in the place to do it, and I don't owe that to anyone. That's perfectly allowed to be just mine. But to comment on a video about a natural disaster and my experience living through that natural disaster, and I quote, "You're living someone else's dream," is so, like, blows my mind. For one, that is not my dream. That experience, I hope I never have to live through it again. That's no one's dream, to live through a natural disaster. Now, homesteading, having animals, yes, there are aspects of that I was incredibly grateful for and that reinforced why I homestead. But oh my gosh, how tone deaf do you have to be to comment on a situation like that, saying you should be grateful, which is the context behind it, right?
That's extremely insensitive. Like, that's all I have to say. How can you? I don't have anything else to say on that. That just makes me so angry. Okay, I'm gonna do a more lighthearted one now because that one made me sad. All right, I'm gonna read this one word for word, exactly how it's written, exactly how it's spelled, and this is under the category people's obsession with "Where's your man?" and sliding into the comments. But this was on my channel, not Sage's. Most of these are on Sage's channel because she's obviously the solo homesteader here. All right, you ready? Is Sage single?
I know exactly who that is, and I have one of their comments on there for me too. And he found your channel, asked you if I'm single, and single, and then found my channel and commented multiple times over. This is one of them, but he did it a few times. "I'm a single homesteader. Are you dating?" And then went to and through my other videos for like 2 months and consistently asked if I was dating. As if I'm gonna meet up with a stranger on the internet who's leaving.
Again, the only word is audacity. So this one is actually a podcast comment, and it's in the same category. This is one that we got on this podcast, so if you're listening, you know who you are. Don't comment anymore. It says, "If I ever gonna date / marry anyone, it's gonna be a woman like one of these two." Not necessarily rude. Just weird. Just a weird thing to say.
And also, I feel like there's a perception that just because we're into homesteading, that inherently that means we're trad wives, and don't get me wrong, we like to do stuff like cook. If you were in a room with me for like 15 minutes and had a conversation with me, I don't think you'd like me very much. And I'm pretty confident in that, and that's okay. I don't think that you want to date or marry me.
I've gotten into the habit recently on all of our social media posts, just to make this very clear. I have been hashtagging every post vintage vibes, not vintage values. If that tells you anything, that tells you everything you need to know about us.
The nose ring is to tell you I'm not a trad wife, and I don't lean right.
I like to cook. I like to garden. What else? I like to bake. I like to sew, just not in oppressive fashion.
There are so many people that are irked by my singular piercing that they can see. So there's a lot of comments, but just a couple of them to pick them out are such a beautiful woman, but the nose ring kills it dead. Or pretty face, too bad about the nose ring. Guys, I have so many piercings and so many tattoos. You just can't usually see them. And if that irritates you, I promise the rest would irritate you.
All right, these just keep getting juicier. So I'm going to just go there. We're going to go to the category of just have a baby already. And the first one, I have two. There are a lot more that I've gotten, but I honestly, I've just picked two because they all say the same thing. So the first one is just have a baby already. Yes, they are more hard work, but you're already finding out that the hardest work is also the most rewarding, especially when you get to see the fruits of your labor. If you do it right, children bring you far more joy than stress. All right, first comment on this. 1, I don't know that I'm going to do it right, so they might bring me more stress. 2, I have enough things on my plate right now that I think if I took on a single other thing, I'd probably just explode. 3, you should never comment on people's fertility, regardless of who they are, if they're someone random on the internet, or if they're related to you, because you don't know what that situation looks like for them. I don't talk about this on my channel because it's just not something that, we're not in that season of life right now. When we get there, we will talk about it, and it will be something that we document because we're just documenting our lives. But we have a lot going on, and yeah, I don't need comments about this. And then I'll just read the second one. This one's really weird. I don't remember exactly which video it was on, but it was a video about one of our renovation things where we're working on all these projects, and it said, "Get Taylor working on a baby." It's just a super weird comment.
I do not understand the people who view having children, it comes off at least, they view it as like a Tamagotchi pet, where they're like, just put a roof over their head and feed them and water them, and they'll be fine. And that works for a houseplant, that works for a digital creature, but we were talking about a human being. It needs more. People need more than just food, water, and shelter. You're gonna... Oh, I have thoughts on that.
Yeah, that could be a whole discussion. Maybe we'll talk about it someday, but I think there's been enough said on that for today. Just move on to the next.
This next one, for me, is under the category of people's obsession with where is my man? I don't understand why people see a single woman and just stuff. Well, actually, I do understand, and it bothers me that I understand. But people see a single woman, and immediately they're like, "Where's the guy?" Fun fact: I am a fully functional human in and of myself. Imagine that. Capable as a woman. I have a vagina. It's not a hint. Anyway, here's a couple. So one of them is just, where's your better half? And then the other one was, you just need a good man. What part of my life reads, I am lacking? What part of my life reads that there is something that I cannot accomplish because I don't have a man around?
I just want to say that I do have a good man, and I am just as stressed out as you are. So
Yeah, okay. So I've done this very briefly with another person and then for much longer without another person. And it's just different stressors. There are so many times that I come in at night after I've worked all day in the garden, and I'm so glad that I do not have to talk to someone else, that I don't have to be aware of someone else's emotional state. I can literally just shove food in my face and sit on the couch and relax and do exactly whatever I want because I'm not disturbing anybody. And that is significantly underrated.
no, I think both forms are valid. And if anything, it just demonstrates that homesteading does not have to look one specific way. It often does, but it doesn't have to be. I think I'm going to read one out of the just plain silly questions category, because there are a lot. So we're just going to start with the first one I have written down. Do you have house progress to show us? That's what we want to see. Doing less things in small steps would be easier and less disappointing. I don't really know how to take this one. I don't think that they mean like the videos are disappointing because we're doing too many things. I think they mean like it would be less disappointing for me, but that's just not how my brain works. So, and I don't think people understand that like we're doing these projects on nights and weekends, often eating dinner at like midnight, trying to get these things done and also film them. And then I also have to take the content and edit it into some video that usually I forget to voice over, or I forget to talk while I'm doing the actual project, so I have to voice over. The whole editing process is like the longest part. Filming is also just a huge undertaking. So yes, there's house progress. There's always going to be more house progress, but it's got to be paced out. I just can't do videos multiple times a week. This isn't my full-time job, as much as I would like for it to be. It's not. And then another one on this list is referring to the house progress. Were you born in the 80s? I don't think so. Nobody paints dark green anymore, girlfriend. And then they put a bunch of crying, angry, and annoyed face, like emoji faces after that. I don't know what to say other than you're wrong. And no, I was born in the 90s.
I mean,
I love
again,
it.
it just goes back to like, why do you care what someone's self-expression is? Like, why does it bother you?
I am already anticipating the video that I'm about to post tonight or tomorrow. The comments we're going to get. I asked at the end of it for people to comment what their favorite thing about their renovation is or their least favorite thing, because I really I need to get my engagement up. And I'm just anticipating. I'm not going to be able to read those comments. I'm going to have Taylor look at them. I need to hire somebody to look at my comments because sometimes they just really stress me out.
It'll get your engagement up though. If you invite people to criticize the thing you worked really hard on.
And I did. And I told Taylor as soon as I said that, I was like, I'm going to regret that. He's like, yeah, probably.
In the unsolicited advice category, I get a lot of people, or at least I have lately, I've gotten a lot of people who assume that because I'm homesteading that I want to be totally and completely off grid and go totally off that deep end, which they can be related, but I've never said anything about wanting to or planning to live off grid. And so I just get a lot of comments about, why don't you have solar yet? You need solar. You should invest in solar, which I actually am not against that. If I had the money to invest in solar, I totally would, but that's not a small undertaking, and that's a lot of maintenance, and that's things that can break, and it's not infallible in and of its own either. It has a lot of issues in the same way that being connected to the grid has issues. But I've also gotten people who have criticized me for freezing things to preserve them because if and when the grid goes down, which we just experienced recently, which sucked. Your freezer thaws. And so videos like harvesting the meat chickens and putting them in the freezer and saying like, hey, this is my year supply of meat. People will be like, well, that's dumb. You should can it because if it's frozen, it's going to go bad. And that's just let people do their thing. Like one step at a time. The first year that I homestead, I'm not, which is where that came from. I'm not going to be totally and completely self-sufficient. Even if that's where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, which it's not. It would take more than the first year to get there.
I mean, you know how I feel about the term self-sustainability, self-sufficiency, but yeah, that's just like when people comment, you should get a freeze dryer, you should freeze dry that. It's not feasible for a lot of people. That's also like the just buy the canner, or just buy this. Like, we need a goat fund me for all of the things.
Yeah, we should just label it. I mean, I like the goat fund me. It's punny, but I think it would be more aptly named "Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is." just put it on links, or just put that link on comments where people tell us to buy things.
Yeah, for sure. I have a couple that they're referencing other channels, and I'm like kind of hesitant to read them, but they also address me, so I'm going to. This is a long one. I love following you in the hollers, but I must admit that I watch videos while I'm working in the house or in my garden, and find that I don't enjoy watching either of your channels because you both tend to make them all about watching, in all caps. I'd rather watch Acre Homestead because I can just listen to her and then look when there's something I need to see. Since I have to pay attention to actually looking, these are all in caps, at yours and the hollers, I only watch them occasionally. I'm not saying you need to change, but I do think you'd get more views if people didn't have to watch your videos. I'm sure you can see why this doesn't work. And what I have to say about that is no, I don't see how that doesn't work because I don't understand what you want me to do. Do you want a podcast? Here you go.
Why on earth would you be surprised that the video platform has video content and that video content is meant to be viewed? That should not be a surprise to you. Yeah, you're looking for different content. What?
You're looking for a podcast. That's what you're looking for. Just listen to a podcast while you're in the garden. That's what I do. And while we're at it, I'm just going to read the next one that references another homesteading YouTube channel. This one actually makes me really sad to read, and I feel bad even reading it. Like, I deleted this one right away. This person is just a jerk, to be completely honest. Whatever you do, don't turn into the loser at Roots and Refuge, Jessica, and the channel that bought their property, which they're referencing Whispering Willow Farm. I actually didn't delete this right away. I clarified what they were referring to. Like, I was like, why are you calling her a loser? She's amazing. Like, that woman has built a business from literally, like, seeds. They said that their channels aren't relatable anymore because they monetized other avenues. Like, they have their, like, roastery, and Whispering Willow Farm has a whole bunch of businesses on the side. And so they're not relatable to people who are just starting out, apparently, now. And some people get really mad about that, I guess. I was like, I don't ever plan to, like, be this crazy, huge businesswoman and do all of these things. Like, I'm just trying to finish my house so that I have floors and, make some raised beds in my garden. And maybe we'll build some other things here in the future, but, like, I don't ever see myself buying, like, a 50-acre property or anything. But I can't promise you that I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't see myself doing that. I don't have the desire to do that, but I'm not going to promise you that I'm not going to, like, grow. And I think it's ridiculous that people would expect these other creators to, like, make their lives smaller to accommodate their viewers. That's like the whole authenticity chat all over again.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, it's no one's responsibility to play small or keep themselves small to make other people happy. I understand that she probably, gained a lot of followers for people who are beginner gardeners and enjoyed the content she used to make, but people evolve, people's lives evolve, and she has no responsibility. She's not beholden to anyone to have any version of life that she doesn't want to have. I think, if I'm being really honest, I think that comes from a place of jealousy and resentment that the person who wrote that comment feels like that's unobtainable for them, that's out of their reach. But that's no one's problem other than for you to work out with yourself.
I actually have one more that connects very well with that topic, so I'm going to read it. This one's under the just plain silly questions category, though. So this one says, mid-September, ? So 10 days after you filmed this, the hurricane hit. So why would I even finish watching this? It's all in the past. This is a video that I posted a week after I posted our hurricane update video, where we sat down and talked about the fact that we hadn't had power for a week. And I said specifically in that video, I have content from prior to the hurricane that I will be putting out after this video, because I haven't had a chance to edit it because we haven't had power. But I also really wanted to give people an update because we had so many people reaching out and concerned about us. And so I did the update video, and then I posted a few videos that were backlogged because we were renovating and doing all the things. So this person was mad that I was posting a video that was 2 weeks old. And then I replied, I don't remember what I said, but they said, you could have simply explained the reasoning behind your posting schedule so as not to have confusion. Part of your responsibility to your subscribers. Unfollow. That's what they said to me. And I know what I replied to that. I replied, I have absolutely no responsibility to you. Yes, I would love to make content that you want to see, but if this content isn't something that you want to see, just leave. I don't know what to tell you. Please unfollow. Please unsubscribe.
Can you imagine doing that in more of a normal real life scenario? Can you imagine walking into a bakery and they have this whole case of stuff that you can pick from? And they have sandwiches, and they have sweets, and they have a variety of whatever. And you pick up something that you don't like, and you look at them and say, oh my god, it's your responsibility to me as your customer to make sure that I like this. What? That's on you. That's on you to know what you like and pick it out. And if you don't like it, then okay, you learned something. You don't have to eat it. Just don't make it everyone else's problem. What in the... Okay, all right.
Sorry I had a hurricane. I'll try not to do that next time. Final note on that. Every video you watched happened in the past, regardless of how far in the past. It happened yesterday, it happened 2 weeks ago, it happened a week ago. It all happened in the past because it's not a TV show, it's not a live stream. It's happening prior to editing it and posting it and a whole bunch of other work that goes into it. It's in the past.
Yeah, that's the kind of comment that makes me want to be like, you try it. You balance what I balance in my life, and then you can give me shit for it. From the straight up bad advice category, there was someone who commented on one of my videos that was filmed and posted in the middle of the winter last year that I needed to shear my sheep because they were looking a little woolly. For one, that's the goal in the winter. They should definitely look woolly in the winter. That is their protection from the weather and sunburn and everything else. Second, I'm not going to shear my sheep in winter because that would actually be animal cruelty. Last year, it got down to... I think it got down to -1. If I sheared my sheep, they had no wool, and then it got down to -1, that would be animal abuse. And 3, they were not even a year old yet. And so they definitely objectively did not need to be sheared. I don't know if people get used to seeing a lot more of the hair sheep breeds that just don't have, the true wool coat. Hair wool is a little bit different than like a wool breed sheep. I don't know if it's that or if they just had a bad wool hair day or what, but I read that and I was like, you're wrong. I'm not sorry.
That's like if I ever have to comment something rude on your channel, it's going to be show us the sheep shearing. And why didn't you show us bringing up the beehives? Those two things.
There's only so much cursing you can bleep out of a video, That's part of it.
I mean, that would prove that you're the real deal. You're not just holding your coffee cup up in that pasture. You're pushing beehives up there.
I don't know. I'm sure they'd find something else.
They would say, lift with your legs. Something like that.
You come carry the 75-pound box all the way up the hill through my pasture in the mud.
The mountain.
You do.
To be clear.
It actually is legitimately a mountain.
My next one is a subscriber who comments on every single one of my videos, and she kind of requests the same thing. She's requested it multiple times now. I am not the only person who's had to respond to her. There are multiple other people who have responded to her and say, back off, which I appreciate. If you're one of those people, thank you. She says, I have a special request for you, which, okay, you're not entitled to that, but whatever. Could you guys please find another way to end your videos other than the hand? I hate when people use the hand. It reminds me of Toy Story, the claw, the way she's referring to it. She says, it's just so rude.
Sorry, I just heard all the aliens, do the thing. You know what I'm talking about. I didn't do it well, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, they're in the little machine. She says, it's just so rude to me. Just phase it out, but just stop it with the hand. With that being said, happy anniversary.
I'm gonna find that and I'm gonna go comment on that. Can I make a special request that you use the hand to end your video every time? I love it. I think it's disrespectful when people don't use the hand to end their videos. That's what I'm gonna do.
I genuinely, when I reply to a comment, I seriously think things through about how I want to say it. And a lot of the times I am very sassy with things, and it took everything in me not to comment that I'm gonna start using the finger.
Why did you not say that? It's so good. Okay, I have a few that are under the category of just needless comments on physical appearance. I don't know if it's because I'm a single woman or what it is, but wow, those comments really ramped up after the channel was just me. And so there's a variety of them. Some of them are like, you look tired, which that was the entirety of the comment. there was no reference to what the video was about. There was no reference to anything else. It was just they really, really wanted me to know that I looked tired, and I can guarantee you I look tired because I've been tired for 3 years straight. So that is an apt observation. I don't know that it needed to be said out loud, but I'm glad that you have your stage. And then I'm pretty sure this was the same person, either on the same video or a video shortly after, but they then felt the need to comment that you're kind of hot looking, which I find this comment particularly entertaining because it is both a compliment and an insult. It's like you can't decide, and also you need the world to know that that's where your head's at. That can't just be an internal thing. You need to externalize that and announce it. I love that one on a few levels. I find it very entertaining.
My favorite part about that one is the kind of. Not just you're hot. It's
exactly.
Kind of.
Just it kind of makes it.
Just a little bit of spice. You're like a jalapeno.
Luckily, I'm good. I clean up good if I want to. I just don't usually want to. So that there. And then some people just get really blatant and they say just things that come off really, really weird. Like, you look good enough to eat, or just straight up, I want you. And I can't decide if those people just have no shame, or they think it's a DM, or they just don't care. But what is anyone supposed to do with that comment? Like, I don't want to know. That's a you thing that you keep to yourself. And two, it's not like I'm gonna respond to that. Like, what, where do you see that going?
That statement makes me so uncomfortable. Like, it just made me cringe hearing that. I don't like that. Not one bit.
Can you imagine someone walking up to you, a stranger that you've never met, and just saying that to you in real life? You would be like, what is wrong with you?
To be fair, most of the time when people walk up to me in real life and talk to me, I still panic. Doesn't matter what they say. But if someone said that to me, I'd be like really shocked. I'd be like speechless. I don't know how I'd respond. I think I'd probably just walk away.
You perfect the RBF face when you're in public, or when I'm in public. I have it, and I walk really fast. So you have to catch me, and you have to be not intimidated by me.
That's like a 24/7 thing for me, not just a public thing. It's just what my face does. Unless we're reading rude comments, and my jaw hurts from laughing right now. So like, I don't usually smile this much. Okay, so the next one I have is also a comment on relationships and or the whole being a woman thing. Indirectly, I suppose. Don't you have a husband? Shouldn't he be doing the drywall? This one makes me so mad. I am perfectly capable of doing drywall. We decided, we both tried it. We both tested it out. Guess who's better at it? Me. That's why I was doing it. You know what I don't like to do? Sand. That's what he did. Sanding gives me the chills, the shivers. I don't like it. That's the part he tackled. It was like an even distribution of work. I hate sanding. I hate vacuuming up after sanding. I hate taping up the plastic to protect everything from sanding. So he did all of that, and I just did all the mud, which, again, lots of work. Both of those things are lots of work. But why would you assume that he would be the one doing it? That's what I want to know. Why don't you tell me?
I feel like people think women just like have no muscles and we're just fragile, and if we do anything, we're gonna get the vapors and faint. Like, what? I will never understand that. That will always boggle my mind.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I will ask Taylor to like get something from the top shelf because I don't want to crawl on the counter to grab it. But could I? Yes. But I feel like that's the same. Like it goes both ways. It's a relationship for a reason. Okay, so on this topic, I have another one. It's just like a general idea because I get this comment on this one video a lot, and it's just different variations of it. But basically, it's on my I quit my job video. I explicitly state that I have a new job and I still work full-time, a 9 to 5. It's just a different one. I get a lot of comments saying basically that I made the right decision to stop working because women should be at home. I wish if anybody's listening to this and you can't see Sage's face right now, please go to YouTube and look at it.
There are not a lot of things that make me contemplate physical violence. The topic of gender roles and people telling women they belong in the kitchen is one of those things. Yeah. I don't have a lot of words for that. I have a lot of feelings for that.
I love being at home. But again, like the other hobbies I mentioned earlier, I don't want to do it oppressively. And that's all I'll say on that.
Okay, the last one that I have to add to this list from my comment section is another straight up bad advice. It was a video where I was cutting down some trees that are on my property on the edge of the pasture to eventually be able to turn that into a space that the sheep can graze. And they were trying to tell me that I should not cut any trees down. I should just look into silva pasture. which if you don't know what silvopasture is, it's a combination of forest and pasture. It's a forest and pasture. It's a little bit of both. But the thing about silvopasture is you can't just throw grass seed down into a forest. There's a reason that when you walk in a forest, you see pretty much only trees and maybe a little bit of shrubby undergrowth growing if it's a newer forest. And that's because trees, when they're truly in a forest clump, shade out grass. And when they drop leaves in the winter, they kill the grass off. And to turn a forest into a silvopasture, you have to cut down trees. And funnily enough, I was actually already aiming for silvopasture. And so it's just like, I understand people want to be helpful, and I try to have patience for that. But there comes a point where you're trying to give me advice and you genuinely do not know what you're talking about. I'm not clear cutting. I even went through and made sure that I wasn't cutting down trees that were of particular value, especially where I am here. A lot of it is tulip poplars, which are the things that'll spring up first, and that's pretty much all that's in there. I saved the locust trees. I saved the sourwood trees. I saved the dogwood trees. I saved the sassafras trees. I saved the maple trees. Like I went through and I was very meticulous about it, and I even left some of the tulip poplars. I didn't just go in there and clear those. Like there was so much effort and energy and time that went into it that this person didn't see, and they saw me cutting down trees and were like, you shouldn't do that. So irritating.
That's a lesson on you're only getting like 15 minutes out of somebody's entire week. So just know that there's a lot more that went into whatever you're seeing than what you're seeing. No matter how much we try to show and like provide a good idea of what like of the process we're going through, it's impossible to get all of the information.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is true for both of us, but correct me if I'm wrong. We both obsessively research things. Yes, we can sometimes jump into projects more quickly than other people would, and often the perception behind that is you haven't done the research or you're some degree of underprepared. But for kind of what fuels us in this is a learning aspect, and we're not gonna sit and film the 2 a.m. scrolling sessions on our phone where we find 10 articles and watch 20 YouTube videos like that. There's nothing to show there, so we don't show it, and we're not going to sit here and explain to you every single thing that we've read or viewed on the topic, often because it's a years and years process and you're building on existing knowledge. That's like you don't see the stuff that happens behind the scenes. And just because we are women in our 20s and 30s, just because we've only had a homestead for a few years, just because we're women, which I'm going to be real honest, I feel like plays into a lot of it, does not mean that we don't know what we're doing.
This isn't like an actual comment that I can recall, but going through our old footage trying to make this renovation update video, there was one video that I posted way back when we were taking out this half wall in our living room, and I explained like the reasoning behind it, the design practices that like I wanted to like increase the flow but not open up because we're not looking to do open concept and all of these things. Like I explained it very thoroughly, and I had people commenting, like multiple people commenting, saying we should have blown out this entire wall so that the entry was open to our living room so it wasn't closed off. And I went off in that next video, like just saying, you know what? Screw you, because this is my house, and if you want open concept, good for you. You're gonna hate it in like 5 years. Like, newsflash, it's going out of style because people like separate spaces. They don't want to be around their family all the time. And I don't have people that I need to be separated from, but I want it to be cozy in here, and having one big open space is just not that. Like, as much as you want to try and make it that way, it's not. So, yes, I have a master's degree in design, and I still have people telling me that what I'm doing in my own house is wrong. I have one in particular that I want to end on because I want to read it dramatically, but this one isn't that one. So we're going to read this one first. It's under Just Plain Silly Questions. And it says, are you sure you really want digitalis growing in your garden? And I want to assume that this person commented this because they're assuming that I don't know that digitalis is toxic or poisonous. And I do. It's also a simple Google search. This is a plant that Sage gave me. So we've obviously discussed it as well. She has it in her garden. Like, you just have to be careful with things. As long as you know where you're putting things and you know like how to identify stuff, and you're not just like going around shoving stuff in your mouth that you don't know what it is out in your garden, you should be good. You should be fine.
All I'm saying is, you never know where the world's going to go, and you never know what you might need to be prepared for. And having versatile tools at your disposal is a good thing.
Yeah,
Coming from the person who's learning herbalism for multiple reasons.
I was gonna say, are you sure you don't want it in your garden?
All right, this is one from the podcast, and isn't blatantly mean, but it's definitely annoying. The comment is, you can buy fresh fruit and veggies from the grocery store. It's so much cheaper. Now, I kind of understand where they're coming from. There are a lot of things that we grow not because we're super excited about saving money. Like, it just comes from our heart and we want to do it. But I also think that's incredibly misleading because there are more than I can list. There's so many things that you can grow from seed and save money. You don't have to buy the brand new raised bed and fill it with bagged compost from Home Depot and buy mulch and have everything look perfectly manicured. You can dig up a patch of dirt and throw some lettuce seeds down and grow like $40 worth of lettuce in a season. And it's comments like that, and it's misinformation, honestly, like that I feel often discourages a lot of people from trying things like gardening because they see stuff like that and they're like, yeah, but then squash just costs like 50 cents at the store. So it just depends on what you're growing and why you're growing it. And it annoys me. It annoys me.
Looking at it from like a food preservation standpoint, it's a lot cheaper most of the time to go to like a farm store or the farmer's market and ask, or on like a Facebook group or something, if you're like in a homesteading group, to like ask people if they have extra produce that you could buy off of them for cheap, or at the farm store, like the tomatoes we got this year for $10 a bushel. Like, you can't get that many tomatoes, organic, high quality, like locally grown tomatoes for $10 at the grocery store. There's no way. Like, even if they're on sale, you're not going to get them for that cheap, and they're going to be from somewhere else. So, and you're not supporting your local economy that way. I think it's very nuanced. Okay, I have one last one, and I'm going to read it dramatically. This one I remember waking up to at like 1 a.m, because I got the notifications, and this old guy was commenting this on one of our coop building videos when we were still kind of trying to figure out what we wanted to do. So we were trying a few things, and it really disturbed him. So here we go. Little flags, sonotubes, spray marking paint, pink string. I thought you were just starting on this journey, and if so, why do you need all of that stuff to make a chicken coop? What a waste of money all that is, with like 100 exclamations afterwards. Dig the bloody holes and put the posts in. It is just that easy. All those trips to the store for stuff you don't need. And then he replied to his own comment and said, "Oh, I see. You just like to spend money." First of all, I do like to spend money on things that I enjoy. So let's just be clear about that. And that's like, there's nothing wrong with it. Second of all, those things were all necessary for building our coop because the thing is massive. I think in that very video, we explained why we're doing the concrete footings and everything. And we've talked about this so many times on the podcast, so I'm not going to get into it.
I have no words. Like, at a certain point, how many times can you say, like, people just don't know what they're talking about. They don't know your property. They don't know your processes. They don't know the research that you put into it. Taylor is amazing at building things. And yeah, you're gonna have that coop in what, like 15 years instead of having to rebuild it 15 times because your property floods every year and the wood's, yeah, gonna rot. Like, what? People are exhausting, and this is why I live on a mountain away. This is why.
All right, well, that was a lot of them. There are definitely more that we didn't compile, but if you leave a rude comment on this video, just know that will be included in our next therapy session. So you might get featured.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of She Said Homestead. We hope you enjoyed our chat. Before we say goodbye, we'd love to hear from you. Send your homesteading stories to us at shesaidhomestead@gmail.com. We can't wait to share them on the air. To stay connected, follow us on Instagram for updates and sneak peeks at what's coming up next.
If you like video podcasts, make sure you subscribe to the She Said Homestead YouTube channel too. We can't thank you enough for being part of the She Said Homestead community. Until next time, happy homesteading.